Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff and welcome back to episode 4 of Cheap Knife Week, Volume 4. Today we're looking at the Camillus Bombat, which, that's a funny name, right? That's a great name, and it fits this knife so well. Like, you look at this knife, it's like, Bombat. But yeah, of course, me being me, I had to look up what that meant. It is Romanian for bulging. That's what I found. And, yeah, that works. So, so had this knife for a while. You guys might remember I unboxed this way back in August with the Camillus treads that we reviewed this week as well. So had a lot of time to carry this knife and get to know it. And let's go ahead and start this review. So sharpened edge, we're coming in here about 2.5 inches. If we measure all the way back, I mean, just barely, a little bit more, right? So definitely not a big knife. In fact, here we can get an overall length on this guy. It's like 6 inches. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and do our comparisons. Scoot you up here. Awesome. Okay, so starting us off, as always, are the rats. There they are. Yep, he's a tiny but chunky boy. Alrighty, let's go ahead and grab our Civivi comparisons. Here's the Praxis, who's a big, kind of chunky boy. And here is our Dessert Warrior. And you will become a chunky boy if you eat donuts and shit like that. Sometimes my commentary just kind of goes off the rails. I don't really know what I'm saying, but you guys are still with me, right? So there's our PM2, and there's our bug out. Yippee-dee-doo-dah. And let's go ahead and compare this guy against some other Camillus knives. Here's the Camillus Defy. I reviewed a long time ago and gave one of those away. And where did I put the treads? Because that's the other one I want to compare against. Yeah, there we go. And here's the treads. Again, you might remember, unboxed these two together. And actually, no, I didn't. This guy, I unboxed the treads with this knife, and that was way back in early August. Then later in August, I unboxed this one separately. But okay, so yeah, there we go. We reviewed this guy earlier this week. And let's go ahead and bring out the other knives that we have reviewed for Cheap Knife Week so far. Here is the unnamed Ozark Trail. And here is our Swiss Tech Labial. I mean, Gerundet. So there we are. And yeah, that's going to wrap us up on that front, I think. What are we looking at for materials? The Camillus Classics. 420 steel on the blade, plastic scales, steel liner, steel clip, and we've got ball bearings in that pivot. So let's go ahead, go cut some stuff. This has been one of the most awkward review cutting days I've ever done, and I apologize. Anyways, this is 4, not 3, knife number 4, oh gosh, for Cheap Knife Week, Volume 4, the Camillus Bombat. Look at that chunky little boy. So, let's start off with the action. Access to the liner on this guy kind of sucks. It's pretty sharp, but we do have 3 means of deployment, flipper tab and thumb stud, which you can reverse flick or thumb flick. Ouch. This thing has a very strong detent. Very, very strong. Which is good for the flipper tab because flipper tabs that are this low compared to the pivot don't typically work. But this one works really well because the detent is so strong. So that's awesome, right? The detent for the flipper tab is fantastic. The detent for the thumb studs is murder on your fingers. It's rough. It's real rough. But yeah, as long as you're using the flipper tab, very solid, snappy action, and it has that same kind of ring that the treads had. So I like to see that or hear that. Whatever. Get my senses mixed up. Let's go ahead and talk about the ergonomics. So again, chonky boy. I can just barely get 4 fingers on this guy. But it fills out the hand, and honestly, it feels pretty nice. We do have some jimping up here that's pretty sharp, almost too sharp, but you know, it locks you in. Could have extended it a little further along the blade, but there we go. Ergonomics are honestly pretty fine. There's nothing jumping out at me that's like an issue. Maybe the lock bar here, you can see the lock bar just kind of sticks out like that. I can kind of feel that on some more powerful cuts, but that's about the only thing I notice. Let's go ahead and talk about the carry. So this has an amazing pocket clip, inset to the scales with flat screws. It's the Camillus clip with the dagger on it. I always think that clip looks really, really cool. And it's sitting on kind of smooth FRN. And so in and out of the pocket, it's really no issue at all. Actually, let's take my 5th pocket carry knife today out. Let's put this guy in that watch pocket. It fits in a watch pocket really, really nicely. Completely deep carry, easy in, easy out. I wonder if I could wave this open with thumb studs, because the thumb studs got caught right there just now. Let's see. The answer is yes, but that was super sketchy, so practically no, don't do that. All right, let's go ahead and do our cutting. And for this guy, let's just grab some of this cardboard I've already cut off. Here we go. 420 blade, like Camillus likes to use. Hollow grind. And it's a big, broad blade. This thing slices like a champ. It's really, really nice. And because it's kind of a sheep's foot, you can do your utility cuts. Let's grab some cardboard and let's show said utility cutting power. Good utility cutter. All right. Let's grab this thing. Woo! That felt really, really nice. Let's see how it does here. Oh, wow. 2, 3. And my little thing that I put under the leg for the table to keep it steady came undone, of course. But yeah, that was great. That was probably the best rope push that we've done today. So I like that. Like that a lot. All right, pool noodle time. Pool noodle time. Pool noodle time. All right, here we go. Let's do it. Short blade, but it should be fine. Oh, goodness. Okay, so yeah, never mind. So the thumb studs are kind of getting stuck, not letting it go all the way through. This knife probably would have been a lot better without the thumb studs. The edge itself bit into the foam very nicely. It sliced very nicely, but I'm not going to continue doing that test because those thumb studs are just going to mess everything up. So it felt good going through there, but yeah, not really something I'm a big fan of with that getting stuck. So there we go. USOB. So I don't know if you guys care or not, but my tripod is broken. The adjusting arms no longer staying up. And I did this to my other tripod, and I was using this tripod now, and oh, it broke too, but look, we fixed it for now, so yay. I should probably buy higher quality tripods instead of these $15 ones, but anyways, let's go ahead and talk about what I'm liking and not liking about the Camillus Bombat. Number one, I do think this is a neat looking knife. It kind of stands out. There's a certain appeal to small, chunky knives like this, right? I don't know what it is, but they're fun. They look great, so I really like that. Next thing let's talk about is the ergonomics. The ergonomics. Using my wrong tenses there. This is super comfortable. Like, this is probably the most comfortable knife that we reviewed all week. I mean, it fills out the hand. As you can see here, I can get 4 fingers on there. Yeah, this thing locks in. It's nice and wide. The plastic scales here, they aren't like chamfered or anything, but they're nice and not smooth, but like soft, and they just feel really good in the hand. Yeah, just works out really, really nicely. Very, very cool little knife, ergonomically speaking. Next thing I like, the pocket clip. Great clip. Focus up here. Inset to the scales with flat screws, and of course it's Camillus's dagger clip, which always looks great. And this clip is just fantastic in and of itself. It's nice and wide. Wider clips are always better in my opinion because, you know, they take up a little more surface area and they're not as pokey in your hand. So I think that is absolutely fantastic. Out of the packaging, centering and everything on this guy was good. Again, $15 knife, feels nice. Let's go ahead and talk about that blade. Very useful blade shape. This is a great blade, kind of a modified cleaver, sheep's foot. Got a pretty kind of continuous belly, but the tip is still low enough that you can get to your utility cuts. Hollow grind, you can crunch down on things with this nice and easily. So great, great blade. All right, let's go ahead and talk about some negatives. Number one is this lock bar. Look at that. Focus up here, camera. So that lock bar, access to it is nice, but this is just a sharp piece of metal. Like, pushing it over is not fun. Look at that little indentation in my thumb. Yeah, it cuts through my calluses. Very uncomfortable disengagement on this guy. And yeah, just because it's a small knife, it's a little bit awkward. Do not like that at all. Next thing let's talk about. The clip is not reversible. Wah, wah, wah. You know, whatever. But let's talk about the action. This thing has a very strong detent. Oh, incredibly strong detent. And so it makes the reverse flick pretty much impossible. Like, this hurts. It just hurts. And the flipper, I will say, the flipper tab... For the flipper tab, the detent is perfect because the flipper is so low in relation to the pivot. It rockets out of there. But yeah, just the detent is too hard on this. It's too hard. That's all there is to it, and it makes this kind of an uncomfortable little guy to use, which is a real shame. Maybe the detent's not quite as hard on other particular versions or other, yeah, pieces. Another thing to point out is that the pivot is free spinning, which is never really fun. But I just loosened the pivot a little bit. Let's see. Okay, so we don't have any play or anything, and that did actually make the action a little bit nicer. Still, though, that lock bar is awful, and yeah, it is still. I mean, look at that. I am just tearing the crap out of my thumb, taking all that dead skin off the end. So yeah, we're gonna stop fiddling with that for just a little bit. Let's go ahead and talk about my final conclusions on this guy. So again, this is kind of in Camillus's $15 knife series. I don't really think they've got a name for that series or not, but you know, pick this up from a Tractor Supply. There's a lot of things I like about this knife. I like the small, chunky nature of it. I do like the blade. But there's a lot of things I don't like. That detent strength is too heavy. This lock bar is a sin. Like, someone's going to hell for that. And so at the end of the day, we've got kind of a mixed bag in terms of this knife here. Because it's got some great elements and it's got some terrible elements. And in my mind, I've got to try and balance those out, right? Or do they cancel each other out? And if so, then, you know, what are you left with? So, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this thing. But we will talk about that on Saturday when we rank all of our cheap knives. So, until then, well, actually, until tomorrow when we get our last review for Cheap Knife Week, let me give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek of what that thing's going to be. There you go. That's all you get to see. Until then, if you like the video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.